The crew of the spaceship is in cryogenic sleep, with astronaut George Taylor recording his final log. Half a year ago, according to the ship's clock, they departed from Cape Canada, but over 7 centuries have elapsed on Earth. The mission's originators have long passed away, yet Taylor feels no remorse about their journey. From his perspective, everything appears altered, time feels warped, and space is infinite. The only question that lingers in his mind is whether humanity, the wondrous force that launched him into the cosmos, continues to engage in conflict. A quick glance at the clock reveals it's March 27, 2673, on Earth. After taking a moment to observe his fellow crew members, he reclines in his pod. Suddenly, the ship makes an emergency landing on an unfamiliar planet, finding itself amidst a body of water. The crew awakens to discover they have been in cryosleep far longer than anticipated. The most shocking revelation is the death of the sole female crew member, Stewart. As water begins to flood the vessel, they must evacuate, especially since their readings indicate the atmosphere is breathable. Looking at the ship's clock, frozen at November 25, 3978, the crew abandons their sinking vessel and boards a life raft, navigating toward the shore while admiring the stunning landscape around them. There are no signs of intelligent life in sight. Taylor reminds the team that they are 320 light-years from Earth, stranded on an uncharted planet in the Orion constellation, and they haven't had the chance to check the instruments properly. Upon reaching land, Taylor assesses their salvageable supplies: a pistol, 20 rounds of ammo, a first aid kit, and provisions for 3 days. The pressing question now is how long a day lasts on this planet. They ponder the mysterious circumstances surrounding Stewart's death, presumably due to depressurization. They realize they had been traveling for 18 months while roughly 2,000 years have passed on Earth. With no hope of returning, they understand that time has eroded everything familiar. Realizing the urgency of their situation, the crew understand they must begin studying this unfamiliar planet. Analyses reveal that nothing can thrive here due to the lack of carbon dioxide, but fortunately, nothing poses a threat to their health. With only 72 hours of food remaining, Landon raises a small flag of the United States on the shore, and the astronauts set off on their expedition. The landscape is alien and wild, filled with bizarre rock formations and desolate canyons. They narrowly escape landslides multiple times while thunder rumbles ominously overhead without a drop of rain. The sky is heavy with clouds, devoid of satellites or recognizable landmarks. They come to terms with the reality that a significant time gap separates them from Earth. Their loved ones have been gone for 2 millennia. Even if they were to return, no one would remember them. Taylor encourages his teammates, questioning their motives for this journey. Was it for fame, knowledge, or the chance for longevity? Ironically, they have outlived any human on Earth. For Taylor, this mission is driven by hope. He believes there must be something greater in the universe than humanity itself. Just then, Dodge shouts that he has discovered life, a faint green shoot emerging from the barren ground. This indicates that there are plants on the planet, and they need to keep searching for them. As they press on, the astronauts encounter harsh rocky terrain but soon spot greenery and unusual structures that resemble scarecrows. After walking a bit further, they joyfully discover a body of water. Eager to refresh themselves, they strip down and dive in. Upon swimming back to the shore, they find human footprints in the sand. Suddenly, dark figures appear, stealing their clothes. The men pursue the thieves, following the trail of discarded clothing and scraps. Eventually, they find their torn garments and wear whatever they can salvage. They arrive at a clearing filled with people behaving strangely, silent, and absorbed in gathering and eating fruits. The astronauts are baffled by these fellow humans, who seem almost primitive, but thankfully, they're not cannibals. Suddenly, a menacing noise erupts from the forest, causing the crowd to flee. The astronauts are bewildered until armed riders emerge, firing shots, and monkeys begin to chase the humans. In the ensuing chaos, the group scatters. Gunfire rings out, and Dodge is shot. Taylor, along with a few others, dashes toward the river. Just as he nears safety, he is struck in the neck by a bullet from one of the monkeys, knocking him unconscious. When Taylor regains awareness, he finds himself imprisoned with other captives. He is taken aback to see monkeys taking pictures of him, almost as if collecting souvenirs. Eventually, he is transported to a facility where he is examined by monkey scientists. They study him, intrigued by his unusual attire, while 2 chimpanzees argue over the necessity of researching animal brains, completely ignoring Taylor, who is still recovering from his injury and unable to speak. In the morning, Dr. Zira conducts her rounds and becomes fascinated by an unusual creature she names Bright Eyes for its amusing mimicry of speech. Taylor, eager to prove his intelligence, tries to grab a pencil from Zira's hand. Just then, Dr. Zayas enters and Zira shows off this remarkable human, but Zayas is skeptical, viewing Taylor's actions as mere imitation. Zira points out Taylor's unique use of a blanket for clothing and his unusual gestures, suggesting he may possess intelligence. However, Zayas dismisses her observations, insisting that humans are a danger and must be eradicated. Later, they bring a female human as a gift and confine her to Taylor's cell. The following day, George and his new companion stroll in a large cage when Zira introduces her fiancé, an archaeologist named Cornelius. Zayas, however, sees nothing noteworthy in Taylor. While the apes bicker, Taylor writes in the sand, but no one pays him any mind. When Zayas arrives, annoyed by Zira's continued interest in the human, a wild man suddenly attacks Taylor, igniting a scuffle. The guards intervene and drag Taylor away, but Zayas notices the letters Taylor has written and quickly wipes them out. Zira apologizes to Taylor, but he seizes a paper and pencil, scribbling his name. Zira is taken aback and decides to take him home. Cornelius remains skeptical, believing it's all just tricks. Humans can't write. They discuss where he might have learned it, and Taylor writes the name of his school, leaving the apes in shock. Could he truly be intelligent? Taylor explains that they came from another planet, which baffles Cornelius, who insists that flying is impossible. In response, Taylor constructs a paper airplane. He then requests to see maps explaining where they landed and how they arrived. Zira and Cornelius engage in a heated debate. Zira argues that humans represent a mutation, a missing link between apes and monkeys, and suggests that monkeys may have evolved from humans. At that moment, Zayas arrives, discovers the paper airplane, crushes it, and orders Taylor to be returned to his cell. That night, as Taylor and Nova rest in their cell, apes come to prepare Taylor for a castration procedure. However, he manages to break free and escapes from the cell, hiding in the ape temple. He is soon spotted and must flee through the city of apes to evade capture. Taylor finds himself once again in a museum, where he is horrified to see stuffed humans on display. In a panic, he rushes out into the street but gets ensnared in a net, where Zira soon discovers him. This time, Taylor's voice returns, shocking the apes around him. Back in his cell, he attempts to teach Nova how to speak, but the apes take her away, placing her in a neighboring cell. He reflects on his life on Earth, admitting he didn't love anyone there, and wonders if Nova could feel love for the apes. Soon he is colored and brought to trial. Zira and Cornelius step in as his legal representatives, but the judges express outrage, stating he has no rights because he is an ape. Confused about the charges against him, the court grants a delay for his lawyers, yet Taylor decides to defend himself. A theologian is called to the stand to argue that Taylor is irrational, citing his inability to answer basic questions. However, Taylor can't know these answers since he hasn't studied their culture. Forbidden from speaking, he writes his statement instead, revealing he is a space explorer from another planet. The apes are skeptical and demand to bring in his fellow captives. When Taylor sees Landon, he realizes his friend doesn't recognize him due to a scar inflicted by Dr. Zayas, leading George to understand that Zayas has destroyed Landon's mind. Back in court, Cornelius defends Taylor, asserting that he did not lie about coming from the Forbidden Zone, which he accurately described. Cornelius himself had been there and found signs of an ancient ape civilization. Zira continues the defense, arguing that if Taylor isn't from another planet, then he must have been born on this one. She insists that the issue lies not in anatomy but in the brain, yet the court refuses to listen. Zira and Cornelius face accusations of scientific heresy, and the tribunal is closed. Taylor's fate seems sealed as he is handed over to Zayas, who plans to operate on him. Outraged, Taylor questions how such a twisted civilization could exist and why Zayas fears him so much. Unable to accept the outcome, Zira devises a plan to help Taylor and Nova escape. Cornelius meets them outside the city with horses and supplies, proposing they return to the site where the spacecraft landed. A small caravan sets off, following the river toward the sea. They reach the excavation site where Cornelius had previously worked, and he is eager to guide Taylor to a cave. However, as they prepare to move, Zira spots Zayas and his pursuers closing in on them, setting the stage for an unexpected confrontation. Taylor is armed and proposes a deal to Dr. Zayas. If Cornelius can demonstrate that their culture is not the oldest and actually derives from humans, he will leave them in peace. The group heads into the cave, where Cornelius showcases his discoveries. Taylor uncovers human remains, including dental plates, glasses, and a heart valve, but the most significant find is a doll that speaks the word mama. As Zayas struggles to provide a rational explanation for these artifacts, gunfire erupts outside. Everyone rushes to the exit to discover makeshift doctors attacking their group. Taylor seizes Zayas as a hostage, demanding a horse, food, and water for himself and Nova in exchange for the doctor's freedom. Before departing, Taylor questions Zayas about his deep-seated fear of him. Zayas responds that it's because Taylor is a man, and he blames humanity for the desolation of the Forbidden Lands, labeling humans as the lowest and most treacherous beasts. After Taylor and Nova escape, Zayas orders the cave to be destroyed and has Zira and Cornelius arrested, believing he is safeguarding the future of his people. As Taylor and Nova ride along the beach, Taylor suddenly dismounts in horror, realizing what has happened. They blew everything up, annihilating civilization. As he grapples with despair, Nova looks at him in confusion. What looms before them is the upper half of the Statue of Liberty, half submerged in the ocean, symbolizing the end of humanity as they knew it.